Last month, we voted, the Board of Trustees voted that Corey Galloway would be the new trustee until June, I guess it is, until May.
Hey,
So welcome, and we are now going to swear Corey in. So to do this, and I want to thank our person who's going to be our notary, and that is Chris Sellen, extraordinaire. So thank you. So if we could rise, how do we do this?
Usually we stand near the flag and
do you want to do it towards the middle, move the flag over?
Yeah. It doesn't matter. You guys want to, come closer. So, if you can repeat after me. I, Corey Galloway, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support
solemnly swear or affirm that I will support
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York, and that I will faithfully discharge
and I will faithfully discharge
the duties of the office
the duties of the office
of Board of Library Trustees
of Board of Library Trustees
for a term to expire June 30th, 2020
for a term to expire June 30th, 2020
in New Rochelle,
in Rochelle,
New York, according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Well, there you go. You are now a library board member. Welcome. All right. I would like to approve the minutes, so can you guys?
we don't have minutes.
No, we don't have minutes? Okay,
I was going to cut them out.
okay, we'll do it next, we'll do it next month. Then, we're gonna do two things tonight. I'm gonna do director's report, and then we're gonna vote on the budget, which we showed you last week. After my director's report, Tom is gonna say a couple of things. But first, I want to acknowledge two things. First, we're happy that Tom is back. Can I say?
Sure.
Tom lost his mother this week, last Saturday night, actually. And because it's such a busy time, Tom went to the funeral today and then made it back to the library board meeting tonight. And so we are just really fortunate to have the kind of people we have here at the library. And so I want to thank you.
Thank you.
And we're happy to have you here.
I'm happy to be here, generally.
But we also, mourn with you.
Yes, thank you.
The loss of your
Oh,
mom.
thank you so much.
Yep. So then that's one thing I want to say. Then the second thing I also have to thank, so it's been kind of one of those weeks where every day I've been on the phone with Jean about what's going on at the library. I've never talked to Jean so much. And so thank you, Jean. And Chuck. I mean, I've never talked to everybody so much. Thank you, Jean. So as we know, we are going through something in our country, and it's caused a lot of just questions, apprehension, and for whatever reason, New Rochelle seems to be a hotbed of it. So as you know, earlier this week, we sent out an email. We closed the children's library because it was in the containment zone. In that same communication, we said that if the schools closed, we would close the library. We are so, again, very blessed. That's my language. I happen to be a pastor. We are very fortunate to have the team we have here at the library. We could not do any of the things we do without them, and we appreciate them. And so we know them coming here this week made some of them feel vulnerable, and we really value that. We also are recommending as a board that we close the library and follow the communication we did already send out, and also follow the lead. The schools are closed, and basically the country seems to be closing down. So we will close the library tomorrow. It's your final decision, but that's our recommendation.
I concur.
Okay, that's our recommendation. And you can look to Tom and Jean in terms of the logistics of how that will work out. And we think that we will be closed following the same dates that the school is going to be closed. So the schools are going to be closed until March 26th. So the last day is March 25th. They're going to open on March 26th. And we plan at this time to open the library back on that date. While the library is closed, it's closed. The only thing, and Tom will speak more to this, but the only thing is we will do what we do on holidays. We perhaps will have somebody come to check the boiler, but it's closed. So that's all I have to say about that.
Can I
Yes.
say something? I want to personally, I think on behalf of the board, I really thank the maintenance team here for stepping up, the additional efforts and time. Tom has been keeping us updated on the work that all of you are doing. So we really appreciate it and are very grateful, stepping up to the plate with the additional cleaning. So thank you.
Well, first of all, it is a night of thanks, and I personally want to thank everyone, the staff, the board, for working hard and with great conscience and caring regarding our status during this time that is so uncertain. And what we've endeavored to do is to maintain the library and provide services for our community. But with the closure of the school district and also with the acknowledgement that our activity levels have dramatically dropped this week, I certainly am fully comfortable with the decision that we are taking to close the library effective tomorrow and reopen on the 26th in tandem with the school district. In terms of the salary and things of that nature, which is very important, all staff will continue to be paid. They won't be taking sick time or vacation time. It will be just straight time. The other thing that we would like to do is to acknowledge the fact that our part-time staff, through no fault of their own, will not be working. Traditionally, part-time staff, when they're not working, are not paid. But we think this is such an exceptional time, a time where uncertainty is just rife. We feel it's entirely appropriate, with the board's concurrence, to pay our part-time staff and choose a formula that would average out a wage that ties to their last 3 months of their salaries and working. So we want our part-time staff not to lose when we close the building, because they're extremely valuable. They keep us open because we have only so many full-time staff members. And we're also going to be working with our cleaning service and our security service so that the contract employees there also are not penalized by this, extremely unpleasant turn of events. So that's what we plan to do. As Deirdre said, the building will be closed. Indeed, it will be closed. What we need to do and coordinate with our maintenance services is that we would like a custodian here for no longer than an hour a day, so that that person can check the book drop and can also look through the building, make sure the boiler is functional, make sure there are no broken windows, make certain that the building is perfectly safe and fine, so that when we return, we will be in good shape. I know we have, through the work of Barbara Davis, who has performed admirably, as has Jean Manning. In particular, those two have stepped up, and our board, in particular Deirdre, has, it's become a full-time job this last few days. We will have the opportunity to have our building cleaned by our National Guard personnel, which is great, so that we can continue to provide a building that's in tip-top shape and safe for the public and the staff when we reopen. I also understand, and I'm catching up, of course, because I've been away, that we have received hand sanitizer from through the city as given to the city by the state of New York. And so we're going to go forward. Our programs have been canceled. We're making all the appropriate announcements through our communications office. Yeah.
Go, sorry.
Okay. Yeah, no, I think everything has been covered, and I'm happy to respond, you know. Yep, yep, thank you. The other request that I have for the board to consider, and this is in tandem with what the Westchester Library System is recommending all libraries adopt as a policy, um, that, that no fines will be levied on the late return of any material in this library starting, thank you, tomorrow. And it will extend, we believe, through our reopening, but quite possibly longer than that, and we will revisit as well. So in tandem with what all our peer libraries are doing in the county, we want to take the burden off the public in terms of not being able to leave the house, that they won't be penalized for holding on to their library material during this time. So I'd like a motion to that effect.
I make a motion to suspend all intra-library and inter-library loans for the foreseeable future, as several of our communities are now compromised by the virus.
As well as the fines levied on
Yeah.
any late return of material during that time period.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The motion passes.
Thank you. And I think my report is done.
Okay, we are going to move to the budget. And just so we know, one of the reasons why we're having this meeting is because we actually have a time with which we have to have this budget to the Board of Ed for them to print. And so we were pushing up against deadlines. So we vote on it. We typically vote on it on the March meeting for timeliness. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Chuck.
Budget waits for no one.
Unfortunately,
Show must go on.
the show must go on.
So we went through the budget last time, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. And our budget chair, Beth, couldn't be here tonight, but Deirdre and I, working along with Tom and Jean, have compiled the budget. So I think, as I mentioned last time, the budget that the Budget Committee is recommending, we looked at several different scenarios. I'm not going to go through them all again, but we looked at a flat scenario, which would require us to cut back in several areas if we kept the budget flat because of the fact that we have contract mandated wage increases. So we looked at a flat scenario. We looked at keeping the budget within the tax cap of 2%, which enables us to meet, the contract mandated wage increases, but doesn't enable us to meet any of the needs that were expressed to us by the director and the staff as voices for the community. So we looked at a 2% budget within the cap. Then we looked at two other scenarios. We looked at one that was up 3.65%, 3.65%, which we believe does a good job of meeting the needs of the community as expressed by Tom, in the meetings that we've had, which includes, just to briefly mention, adding an assistant director position for part of the year, which will obviously roll into the next year, a full year teen room assistant, and then, some, I think, mild increases in materials and a few other items. We also looked, in addition to the 3.67% increase, or 3.65%, we did look at a 5% increase scenario, which provided additional monies for other items, including replacement of some computers, et cetera. Although we want to do as much as we can for the committee, for the community, we want to balance that with the reality of the taxpayers, and so we are not recommending that 5% increase. Where we are recommending, as I think I mentioned at our last meeting, the 3.65% increase, which we think is a good balancing of meeting the needs of our constituents with acknowledging the realities that all of us around this table and everybody in the city faces as taxpayers in the city of New Rochelle. So that's the budget that we are going to recommend. Is there anything else I wanted to say? I think I would just mention, and Tom will probably mention it if I don't, that we do have one of the lowest per capita costs in terms of our library in the whole county. And we are one of the busy, I mean, every month we get a big package of statistics of the usage of the library. And although maybe it's been down a little bit because of the virus, it's one of the highest used libraries in the community. And we are highly confident that Tom and the staff run a very tight ship, and run a very efficient operation. And frankly, the last thing I'll say is that adding this assistant director position, we think the ship is run tightly now, but we think the ship can be run even more tightly. And so part of the role of this assistant director position will be to help with managing the business operations of the library, as Tom is out there spending a lot of time in the community and providing leadership to the whole team. And so we actually think, although there's
And grants.
grants and increasing the amount of grants that we're getting, which are already amazing and some of the highest in the county,
In physical plant, that's a major component.
State.
managing the physical plant. One of the highest, so our grants, which are already some of the highest in the state, getting even more. So although there's a cost increase in the very near term to the assistant director position, we actually think that it will yield benefits and frankly pay for itself over time, because of increased grants and because of a more efficient management of the of the operation overall, tighter management of the operation overall. So we are recommending a budget of a total budget of a tax levy or tax burden of 5.68 million, because we do have revenues as well, so that offsets our total budget, which is a 3.65% increase, or $207,559. I don't know if do we have the per capita increase?
No, usually we get that.
Get that
We
after,
apply to the finance department,
Yeah.
the commissioner, and he will tell us what it means in terms of the average New Rochelle taxpayer.
Do you remember offhand the stat around our piece of the overall tax burden in the city of New
It's
Rochelle? It's like,
less than 2 cents of each dollar goes towards funding library services. And I believe, I don't have the statistic in front of me, what the average taxpayer pays. I believe it's in the neighborhood of $390 per year.
Yep.
Which again, as Chuck had said, is per capita according to WLS documentation, one of the lowest in the county. And our staffing per 5,000 residents is the lowest in the county. So our staff wears many hats in order to keep a tight and efficient operation.
And this is the lowest increase in a while, right?
yes, I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but we'll definitely include that as we give everybody talking points to talk about the budget. But yes, this is one of the lowest increases that we've had over the last several years.
And in it, we're able to add a staff, like we really are doing a lot with it. So I think we're really trying to be creative in how we utilize the money.
Yep, agreed. So with that, any questions or comments from members of the board?
No, I always ask for the number. Tom knows I love it.
He doesn't have it yet.
He doesn't
That's
have
what-
it yet,
yeah,
so we'll
that's what
have
he
that
said.
later.
We'll
but-
have that.
yeah.
I'll apply to Mark Zulli, who's the finance commissioner, share this budget with him. He'll send a document that reflects the impact on the taxpayers, and I'll share it with the board. And that will be an important talking point as we go into the community and discuss this budget request. It's crucial.
Okay, well, I guess I'm going to make a motion to approve this budget of total budget of $6.037 million with a tax levy to the taxpayers of the city of New Rochelle of $5.68 million, an increase of $207,000. I'm obviously talking in round numbers. The correct numbers will be submitted to the record, which is an increase of 3.65% year over year. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Budget passes. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. The final thing is we do have public discussion, and Rob wanted to speak. It's time. You have to come up here, I'm sorry.
There's one.
Okay, pretty much you answered our question of whether we're going to close or not. And these are the concerns of the staff. And me as union president, I represent all the staff. So let me just see. So we're just worried about the well-being of the staff. This is why we're concerned. We're trying to do the staff is trying to do their best. But doing so, we're faced with a danger contracting the coronavirus. We face the public every day. People come into the library coughing. The staff at the registration desk has to handle it the best way they know how. And they are very professional in doing this. They are handling books all the time. Who knows if someone had the virus and is handing in a book? The virus stays on a hard surface for 12 hours. The librarians have to help people on a personal level, meaning they have to get close to people. The custodians have to clean up the areas where people are coughing and throwing their tissues on the floor. This is not a healthy environment. The custodians handle the problem all the time. But when you throw in a virus like the one we are experiencing, you're putting their health at risk. And I just put down that we're going to be closing, the schools are going to be closing, so we'll be closing, so that's pretty much on that. This is from Monique. In the interest of the public service, we are not helping the public by having a public gathering place that all the health organizations encourage people to avoid. The staff has been stressed to the limit, and we are not going to be able to give our best, friendliest service while we are fearful of our health. With so many groups and programs canceled, the only information we're giving out is that there is nothing going on there here anyway. The atmosphere in the library is a very tense, stressful one that will continue, and as the news keeps adding to the tension, very difficult to keep our minds on its duties while trying to concentrate on all our actions that could potentially impact our health. This is from Beth Mills, actually, and she's the head of the Access Services. I am writing this as supervisor of the circulation registration staff, all of whom function as a library frontline. The first faces people see as they come into our building. Even in these very difficult times for New Rochelle, staff has been showing up and providing service to our community. However, given the unnerving rapid spread of the coronavirus and the fact that this is newness forces us to operate with very little in the way of reliable information, it is increasingly difficult to continue to do this. Staff members are understandably concerned not only about their own health, but about carrying contingent home to family, some of whom may be elderly or dealing with other health conditions that we are told would put them at risk. So they should contact, if they do contact this disease. Since many of our services put staff and patrons in close contact with one another, and one of the best preventative measures, we are told, is social separation. As staff has become increasingly uneasy, we don't know if our users are healthy or are taking reasonable precautions. We don't know where returned material have been and whether or not they might be carrying infection into the building. While we appreciate the efforts the library has made in providing additional cleanliness, sanitizing, and other supplies, the seriousness of the situation is making our work increasingly difficult. We hope that these concerns will be taken into account when making our decision. And this is just some announcements from the library and the staff. And the only other thing I have is like this thing from the CDC, and this is says every workplace. Encourage staff to telework, expand sick leave policies, implement social distances measuring, spacing workers at the worksite, staggering work schedules, decreasing social contact at the workplace. All break areas must accommodate distance with regular disinfection of all eating surfaces. Eliminate large work-related gatherings. Postpone non-essential work travel. Regular health checks on arrival each day. So what they're saying is that they want everybody to be checked each day. This is from the CDC. Implement extended telework arrangements. Ensure flexible leave policies for staff who need to stay home due to school, childcare, dismissal, and encourage individuals to stay home. I think you guys have done that. council work-sponsored conferences and trade shows. That's from the CDC. I don't know if you guys want to read all that. But it's just the concerns of our staff, and we appreciate this. And I thank you for closing the library, because I think it's very important that we do, for the health and well-being of our staff. Thank you.
Thank you. So that's it, unless any of my fellow trustees have anything to say? No? Well, with that, I make a motion to adjourn our meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Shortest meeting on record.
Meeting adjourned.